What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about E3 in a different kind of way. Obviously, you get to see my face in this one. I have a kind of a new setup. I have this mic here, and hopefully the audio is going to be okay. I truly cross my fingers and pray that it is. But I want to talk about things that we should be remembering when it comes to E3. Okay, in terms of expectations, in terms of just things like that. I know for things like Game Awards, for Gamescom, for a lot of things that I guess has game in the beginning of it, we can get our expectations pretty all over the place. And I myself, I am not, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm perfect. I'm someone who's never done that. Obviously, I've made loads of videos specifically with E3. We have predicted as many things as I can possibly imagine. Okay, I've made like 40-ish videos on E3. So obviously, I've banged the drum of expectations, of excitement, and I want to make sure that we're all clear of where we stand in this video. So make sure if you guys haven't already, you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Link for that is always in the description below. Okay, and obviously, again, I've been covering E3 so much. We're gonna be covering it this week. This week is we're finally here. Okay, Thursday's the Future Game Show, and then or I guess Future Games Fest, opening kickoff, whatever you want to call it, and then Friday, obviously, there's a conference. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, there is loads and loads and loads. Okay, so in terms of expectations, I mean, it's really not all that difficult. I always go so. Over the last several years, obviously, I've predicted and tried to kind of bang the drum of talking about a lot of things that haven't exactly even been known, okay? When I covered Hogwarts Legacy, when I covered Gotham Knights, I covered leaks and rumors. I didn't always do that. I actually just started doing that around a year and a half, or maybe actually even, not as long as that. So it really hasn't been all that long. And so I get that I cover a lot of things that at the time I record the video and I'm looking at, leaks or rumors, they're just leaks and rumors. They're not even real. And so, I think I've gotten pretty good myself at keeping expectations in check. So for E3, here's what I'm expecting. I'm just expecting a couple announcements here and there. And I know that sounds very generic, very, and not even very specific, right? Microsoft, Bethesda, I do think is going to have quite a few things. But again, like, am I expecting the world from them? No, I'm really not. And you guys may have seen this either in this video or this channel, the videos I made on this channel, or my second channel. I actually made a video kind of ranting about E3 in terms of the schedule, and I think it's very poorly put together. I think E3 this year is the most unorganized it's ever been. I get why, but that really is still no excuse. It's just kind of pathetic. It's them kind of claiming ownership of publishers that clearly want to do their own things, okay? Square Enix, Ubisoft, these guys can go by themselves. They don't need E3, and yet E3 is like, oh, well, we want to be a part of it. So that's really what we've had this year. So again, I have no doubt there's going to be big things. But how I'm looking at it is really, when we think about E3, this year is not really E3. It is like a 4-day stretch, but there's not a convention, there's not a place to go where we talk to everybody, where you can play games on the show floor, none of that stuff. Now, there is going to be stuff, but again, the way it's put together, very, very poorly, and, I think some are going to be better than others. We talked about Ubisoft. We've actually talked about every single publisher that's going to be going, whether it's like I assume some of the, most of them that I've talked about have been like the Ubisofts, the Square Enix, the ones that are going to actually have a presentation, right? Even like Warner Bros. Or WB Games, right? I guess I probably got myself too high on that one, okay, because, we've been talking about it as if they're going to do like an actual conference. Now, when I'm recording this, I have no clue if they're going to do that or not, so maybe they actually, by the time this video goes up, which will be Sunday, I hope, then, like, maybe they'll announce it. But I'm ready for announcements. I'm expecting some big things, but again, kind of like sporadically. Like for Microsoft, I really think we're going to get quite a few big things. Square Enix, I think there's going to be a couple, but a lot of the stuff will be stuff that we've already seen. Ubisoft, same thing. And I think that's probably generally the best way of thinking about it. Well, here's, I guess, the reverse of that. Here's the way that I like to think of, Game Awards, Gamescom, E3 when it normally happens, Tokyo Game Show, all these different things. So how I look at it is, when I make all these videos predicting it, I try to give every possible option that I can think of that I'm into. So there's obviously even games and genres of games even that I'm not the most focused on, or I don't know enough about to make videos on, right? And those ones, like, those could very much appear, and I hope that they do appear, but like, I don't talk about it. But I try, when I make like 40 plus videos, do I expect all 40 of them to happen? No. How I always look at it, and again, it's for this, it's for anything that I do this stuff on, and you could say, well, that's like a you thing, that's like a me kind of problem, but not really, because I see people every day in the comments or messaging me on Twitter, or adding me or whatever, and they'll say stuff that they expect to be there, and sometimes they'll be short, condensed things where it's like, okay, definitely possible, that those things could be there. Sometimes it's a very long list, right? Like a super long list where it's like, okay, well, just flat out, not all of those are gonna happen. So I always kind of look at it as, like, I do have things that I do hope are there. I also have things that I guess I'm expecting to be there, and if they're not there, I guess I would be in that way disappointed. But for the most part, I try to keep an open mind, and I look at E3 the same way as I look at all of the other events, in that it's not made just for one person. And I only recently really started thinking, but honestly over the last 2 or so years, again, I don't pick on game awards as much as everybody else. I don't pick on games, mainly Jeff Keighley events. I don't pick on Jeff Keighley events as much as everybody else, and it's simply because, like, I think they actually are pretty solid. Every single game shown isn't meant to be for every single person. And I think as the world has kept turning, maybe in a wrong way, okay, it's become almost like a thing where people demand, where it's like, oh, you need to have this in your games, or you need to have this representation in your games, or you need to have easy mode, or you need to have this thing, you need to have that thing. I never understood when games or movies or anything became where they need to be accessible for every single person to play them. Like, do fighting games need to have a mode where it's literally not a fighting game because not everybody can play fighting games? No. And I know that's a little bit different, but I honestly look at the same thing for E3 and for all this stuff. There will be plenty of announcements at E3. There is no doubt in my mind there's going to be plenty of announcements, but most of them, I would honestly argue most of them, probably won't be for you, like the individual person. I normally when I talk, I actually try to just talk to like everybody, and I think I actually do a pretty good job, but I'm talking specifically right now to you, the one person that's currently watching. And like, there's going to be 85% of the things there are not for you. But the thing is, it's going to be 85% not for another person, and not for me, and not for and so on and so on. But there will be things for us individually. You know what I mean? So that's that's a long way. Maybe I'm long-winding it. Maybe I'm making it longer than it needs to be. But hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from. I really try to preach this almost every single time this comes around. Same thing with Game Awards. It's not every single game is going to be for every single person, but there's a game for this person. There's a game for that person. And for me, I kind of take a step even back where it's like, even though I don't care about X, Y, C game, I know it's X, Y, Z, but I'm just trying to throw like letters. While I may not be interested in games number 13, 42, and 11, right? While I may not be interested in them, I understand that, there's other people out there in the world, and they may be interested in them, right? So that's how I see E3. E3 is just the bigger version of that, okay? A lot more publishers, a lot more developers, a lot more games, but I still, I don't know. Basically what I'm saying, don't get your expectations too high, because you can always get disappointed when you do that. I think it's more than fine to expect or hope things are there. And I did say expect, and I do actually mean that. If you expect a game to be there, that's your prerogative. That's completely up to you. If you expect 30 games to be there and you're like, oh, I want this bullet point. Well, okay, well, you know what you're doing yourself, hopefully, and you know that that's probably going to backfire, but there's nothing really anybody else can do about it, right? So, again, I'm very excited. We're going to be covering the thing like crazy, and that's kind of, again, that's why I like doing what I do, because I don't just cover one specific thing, because if it was one specific thing, it'd be one specific group of people, and much like I just said with me for games, like, I'm not like that. I like to talk about, I don't just like to play, I like to talk about all sorts of different kinds of games, and there's going to be plenty of different kinds of games at E3. So let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? What are you personally expecting at E3? You know, where would you tell other people to keep their expectations, right? Or would you tell them to keep it in check? Let me know in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. If you want to follow me on Twitter, and it is very important. I know I said in the beginning of the video, but if you've made it this far, well, thank you. Twitter's going to be very important in terms of me updating you on all the stuff I'm going to be doing. So whether I'm co-streaming certain things or when videos go up and they don't get notifications because I'm going to be making so many of them, Twitter is going to be very important. So Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Thank you all so much for watching. E3 again starts this week, and we'll be there. So thank you for watching again, and I hope to see you all on that video.